Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tacking on Transmissions. I am, of course, your host, Byron Lafayette, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan Morris. As we continue our journey through Star Trek Starfleet Academy, we are going to be reviewing every episode and going through. And, this episode or this podcast, we deal with a lot of stuff besides Star Trek, too. We are doing horror, we're doing sci-fi, and just kind of whatever we like that's within that, within those genres and the things that we enjoy. So definitely make sure you subscribe and like this episode. We have a horror episode that is coming up very soon that is going to be on Scream. And we have some other fun ones that are as of right now unrevealed, but you're not going to want to miss them. So this episode, we are going to be diving into episode 3 of Starfleet Academy. And this episode was titled Vitus Reflex. And, this was heavily advertised as a prank episode, a college prank episode. And I guess, Jordan, what were your thoughts going into this? Like when you were seeing the advertising, the trailers, like what were you thinking?
So, trying to take a positive spin, I was thinking, okay, this might be fun, but this feels a bit juvenile, and this sort of leans to the whole Star Trek 90210 vibe. You can have some silly episodes. We've seen some great silly episodes in Trek before, but how absurd was it going to be?
Absolutely. That's how I felt too, because we have heard in various other Star Trek shows, we've heard about Academy pranks, so it's like, I feel like kind of seeing some of those pranks in action, is not something that is completely, outside of Star Trek. And like you said, we've had some great comedy episodes, both in old Trek and in new Trek too. So I'm not opposed to comedy or anything like that. But definitely I felt like the trailers were definitely leaning into that 90210, vibe. And I kind of feel like, I don't know. I feel like some of our fears were realized in this episode. But I guess before we kind of go into maybe some of the bad stuff, was there anything in this episode that you liked or that you thought was good?
Back to your earlier comment, the rumor had been that the first 2 episodes were really good of Academy, and then it went downhill. Let's see. I know it was. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say it definitely feels like that prophecy is coming true.
Yes, unfortunately. No, like there were some funny pranks. I don't know. I mean, we all went through high school, and that I'm like, I'll be honest. The macho and the raging hormones gets to be a bit old for myself, and I'm sure for Byron and most of you listening. Just like randomly chucking a basketball at someone, like, yeah, you're lucky you didn't get your butt whooped on the spot. I mean, but like, I mean, some of the pranks were pretty funny. Beaming out of the showers into the classrooms. I tell you. Excuse me. I do not like the Chancellor of the War College. I'm like, the fact that the Chancellor of the War College is assisting his cadets and helping like these pranks, that is completely unprofessional and beneath a member of Starfleet.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. That irritated me because like I could understand maybe turning a blind eye to pranks, that like his students are doing stuff and he's kind of maybe turning a bit of a blind eye to it. That I could have accepted, even that I think is a bit, for a war college just feels a little bit too far, but I still at least could have accepted that. Actively engaging in it just didn't seem like it worked to me.
Yeah, bypassing the security protocols. Nah, man, come on. But there was some funny. There's some fun. Okay, the whole it's basically Star Trek meets Little Shop of Horrors with the talking plants. That was
Absolutely.
funny.
That was like I enjoyed the little plants, how they whispered. That was funny. And the scene at the end when they all exploded out of the dorms, like that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was different. I don't know, the whole whatever game that was kind of wild too.
Yeah, like the laser tag, I guess you could say.
Yeah, like laser tag meets Total War or something.
It was interesting because when I was watching the laser tag scenes, there was a part of me that kind of felt like I actually think it would have been interesting if the entire episode was about that and we were seeing the cadets having to take leadership positions, having to make tough battlefield decisions, and kind of actually putting them in a war simulation. That I don't know. I feel like I would have liked that episode, and I feel like you could have had some comedic moments, but you could have actually had a very interesting episode, showcasing sacrifice, showcasing like leadership, all this different stuff.
Or even you take it another way. We've never had a Star Trek sports episode. I mean, we've had a Star Trek racing episode in Voyager, but like Star Trek meets Remember the Titans,
Yeah.
or
Mhm.
like I'm like it's all about the match and like who wins the tournament. The mascots were I don't mind the Nugado mascot. I don't know if the salamander is or whatever it was a joke to like Voyager and Threshold. Byron hasn't gotten there yet, so he hasn't suffered through that like we have. But yeah, it's there. There were a lot of interesting ways they could have gone that they didn't. I think we're both in agreement on that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I completely agree. And one of the big issues that I had with this, and I think this is part of the problem, when you're doing a show, that is, 800 years in the future, whatever, is that everybody in this show acts like it's 2025.
Mhm.
And now I understand, all Star Trek shows are a product of their times, to an extent. And so you have a lot of 1960s, elements in the original, show. You have a lot of 80s type stuff in TNG. Like I get that. But for the most part, I felt like old Trek really did seek to try and ground their characters and their stories in the future, so you had stuff that was different and that was weird, where like Academy just it feels like Gen Z, and it just like I feel like people 800 years in the future aren't going to be using a lot of these terms and like a lot of what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. This is supposed to be the best of the best, or they're trained to become the best of the best. They don't sound no granted, they're not going to be as educated as say the TNG crew, but they sound dumb.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They don't sound like they're super smart.
This is college. Okay, you could even 17, but like I don't know. I've known 17-year-olds who sounded smarter than that.
Absolutely. And okay, now this is probably just, a bit of nitpicking, but something that really irritated me was them showing how messy the dorm rooms were. That bothered me because I was like, okay, yes, this is a college, but this is also a military academy. Like this is Starfleet is still a branch of like military-esque. It's not exactly military, but you know what I mean. Um,
Paramilitary, basically.
yeah,
Like semi-military, yeah.
exactly.
Like they would have
Paramilitary.
room inspections, and number one, they needed that should have been there. Number one, Commander Thok needs to be in there. Like, why is our laundry on the floor?
Oh, yes, and it's like you want some comedy. There's some good comedy right there.
Mhm.
It's like, like it feels like there is this low hanging fruit that you can do with comedy. Like you said, oh, it's a messy room. There's a room inspection, and she chews them out, and you get some comedic moments there, while also kind of showcasing what's going on in the world. And yeah, so like that just kind of it just irritated me. And I guess this kind of takes us into, another issue that has kind of been prevalent through this whole series, um, which is, teen cringe, basically, that we've talked about. And what I was thinking about the other day, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this because I don't know if you've seen this show or not. Um, but there's ways for you that if you want to have, I feel like if you want to have teen cringe in a TV show, you have to be really good at writing in order to make it work. And like the example that I can kind of think of is like Veronica Mars. I don't know if you've seen that show.
I have not.
Okay. That is a pure teen cringe show. It's set in the early 2000s, and Veronica Mars works with her dad at like a private investigator. Her dad is a private investigator, and she helps him. And so basically, she goes to high school, and each episode is her doing some type of case for somebody. So, like a stalking case, or sometimes, like a robbery or whatever. And she's doing, and it's normally all based around like these group of like teens and at the high school in like, in LA. And there's an overarching like murder case that she's working of like her best friend who was killed and everything. But like what I am always struck with that show is that there's so much cringy elements of like high school and everything, but it's well written, and so it's like you don't ever feel like smashing your head against a wall because you're enjoying the show and they wrote it really well, where I don't feel that way with Academy.
Like Smallville handled it much, much better 25 years ago during the high school years with Clark. And
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and this is like, it's not the worst I've ever seen. This isn't like Arrow level of cringe, but we're not at CW status yet.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a bit it gets to be just like, it just gets to be a bit much.
Absolutely agree. And that's a really good example that you use of the CW, because like I went through all of Arrow and Flash and everything. I watched all the crossovers of the Arrowverse and everything, and they dived into the cringe. Like, I always tell people those first 2 seasons of Arrow are really good. And they balanced the cringe with the great action and everything, and then it started going downhill from there. But great analogy. So, this episode just, it was problematic for those elements. Now I will say it was fun seeing Reno again. I will say that I always enjoy when she pops up. Now, what did you think about Reno and Tack being a couple? That was something I did not see coming at all.
Oh no, none, not in a million years. That's, I'll be honest, like it's an odd pairing, a literal odd couple. Trying to figure out how that works is, although I will say the bit between them about what was it, the Klingon French cuisine, or like the hybrid, that was kind of funny. Oh yeah, it was cooked coke is chicken, but with like some Klingon, with grapak sauce, and I was like, oh, now that was clever. I'll give them that. But yeah, that was pulled out of left field. Like, well, alrighty then.
Yeah, I felt the exact same way. Like you said, I did enjoy the bit. The whole dinner bit was really funny. Like, I think, what was it? Are you disrespecting dinner? It's like, yes, I am.
If you've gotten on Reddit, like Reddit, I mean, Reddit is Reddit. We all know this, but like, there's been a lot of jokes about, I can actually let this slide. Like, there's been some heavier Starfleet members. Okay, Starfleet's rebuilding. But it's like, oh, I guess they don't have Ozempic in the 32nd century. That's from Reddit, not from me. I did chuckle. But it's like, somebody's like, she talks about disrespecting dinner. Well, we could tell she's never disrespected dinner. And I did laugh.
Okay, I'm going to laugh at that.
Like, I'm like, okay. Like, I laughed. It's mean. It's absolutely mean. But it was kind of funny.
That is pretty clever. Yeah, because I have seen a lot of the jokes about like the different people's weights in in Academy, and there's definitely been a few issues with it. Like, I remember a lot of people I saw on like Twitter who were really mad at the officer who was the like course auditor or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was reading about too.
Yes, and like I've read about that. That one didn't bother me a huge amount because she was like a college professor. So it's like, okay, she's not going out in the field with the military, or anything like that. So I was like, okay, whatever, and it's like, I mean, who knows, maybe the what is it, the Maybe they're all eating original food now. Maybe the replicators weren't working because of the burn or something like that. Who knows? But I don't know. I get the whole idea of the diversity and all of that, but it's like, I don't know, you do have to remember this is still a paramilitary organization,
Yeah, okay, maybe they're rebuilding maybe they've lowered their standards, their physical standards, Actually, it's funny, sidebar, in mini B plot, the original script, one of the early scripts for Star Trek 6 was actually written by Walter Koenig, and basically the original crew can't pass their physicals anymore, so they're all forced to retire, except for Spock. Spock becomes captain of the Enterprise, and they end up captured by some alien. I don't know if they're like slugs, and Kirk and the rest of the crew have to go rescue them, and all die. And Walter Koenig wanted to be done, so he wanted an ending. So they all die except for Spock, and then you see McCoy, who they had thought been killed, gets up, and Spock helps McCoy out. But that's why you don't hear about any of them in TNG. But you'd already seen McCoy and Spock, so they had to live. Obviously, that was shot down. They weren't going to kill the OG crew.
That is crazy. Oh my gosh.
I think Walter King, I think the draft, it's Star Trek in Flanders Fields, I think is what he called it. So if you're on a Wikipedia, Memory Alpha, Memory Beta deep dive, there you go. There's your fun fact for the day.
I'm gonna check that out because that sounds wild and crazy, man.
Well, we need to do an episode on rejected Star Trek movie scripts, because like, wait till you read about the one where Spock's the one who killed JFK.
What?
When I told you this, okay. The Klingons go back, and this was one of the original. It's debated whether it's Star Trek 1 or 2 or it popped up twice. Basically, the Klingons go back in time and prevent the 1960s space race from happening, so there's no Starfleet. And they did it by saving JFK, because JFK's death unified the country and led us to really push in the space race. So, the space race, excuse me. So, if you've ever been to the Dallas Book Repository, I actually went a couple years ago, and whether you believe in conspiracy theories or not, there's some stuff that doesn't add up, because what they're saying with the trajectories, I'm an engineer, and the ballistics, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't work from a physics perspective. Like, this just doesn't make sense. But anyways, it ends up being it's Spock on the grassy knoll has to shoot JFK to preserve the future.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, obviously, late 70s, early 80s, absolutely too soon.
Oh, yeah. Like,
especially with his family, his wife, his children are still young. Like, that's a bit much. Now that 11/22/63 has come out like a decade ago. Mm-hmm. Okay, Paramount, there's your Star Trek movie right there. That should have been your fourth Kelvin movie.
Honestly, like, that would have been that would have been good. And that's the kind of controversy that would have actually been great for Trek right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that would have been a heck of a film. So, but yeah, there you go. So sorry for the tangent, but there's your B plot for this week.
Oh, that is really funny, because I've been to the grassy knoll as well. I was very young. I was probably only about maybe like 10 or so. Like, I really want to go back, like, now that I would appreciate it more. But yeah, I've always been of the same mind as you, that like stuff doesn't add up, about the whole thing. It's like, it doesn't make sense. So I completely agree. But I'm glad you brought up that mini series, the one with James Franco, because I watched that a few years back and really enjoyed it.
I've actually never watched it. I need to watch it.
It is quite different from the novel. Like, they do change quite a bit from it, but I really enjoyed the miniseries. Yeah, I'd recommend it.
Cool.
So, well, what are your final thoughts on this episode? Like, do you think was this a complete like loser of an episode, or do you think, like, were there some redeeming factors? What are your thoughts on it?
There were some redeeming factors. It was decent. It wasn't stellar. It wasn't awful. It was okay. What about yourself? What did you think?
I'm kind of the same mind. Like, I went in expecting the worst. I had an okay time with it. There was definitely moments that I laughed, and thought were funny. There was different pranks. I enjoyed the little shop of horrors prank. That was fun. Uh, and I remember too, like the scenes between Mirror and I cannot remember the princess's name. It's escaping me. Uh,
I don't
but
even
like,
bad.
yeah, but like the two scenes with them were pretty good. I was like, okay, I enjoy seeing these two together and stuff. So uh so that was definitely interesting. I do feel again that there was more foreshadowing of her of her emotional suppressant device, so I feel like we're definitely going to see something from that in the future. um but yeah, I would say on a ranking of 1 to 10 for this episode, I think I'm probably going to give it a 6,
Yep,
because like
completely.
yeah, the filmmaking was good, again, like shot really nice. The sets, everything are gorgeous. You know, and like I said, there were some good set pieces and overall, I guess I'd say harmless. It's kind of a harmless episode.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Uh-huh. So everybody, curious to see what you thought of this episode, because it did not get a good score on on IMDb. It got a 5.1 out of 10, so a lot of people didn't like it. But yeah, we're curious to see, did you love it, did you hate it? Let us know, and be sure to like and subscribe to this video and to the podcast, because we have a lot more content coming out. And we really appreciate all of our listeners who devote time to hang out with us. And so make sure that you subscribe, because we have a banger of an episode coming next for Starfleet's Academy, episode 4. And this is going to be a Klingon episode. So are we gonna love it, are we gonna hate it? You're gonna have to tune in to find out. So we will see you all next week.